the page numbers.
Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just do something like this when you want me to move a slide.
Okay, well, let's see a slide. It's the one you got today.
Is that the only numerical change?
One of the other.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy.
All right, we gotta.
Right.
Oops. All right, it's there, ready to. Okay, we don't need to share it quite yet, though, right?
Yeah, you might as well.
Really? You don't want me to take roll or anything? Okay.
There's 3,000 pumps of water. 3,000 gallons. Every other month. No, that's a bird. So Williston Street.
Yeah, your phone, yeah.
As compared to we have two things, every other month. Every sport.
All right, I'm gonna stop the share for a second, just to get it in presentation.
Swapped out, you go from every other month to every.
Yes. Yeah, so we're currently on every other month, but we will be on every month.
And it's gonna be a gradual move.
Yes.
To really take that load to load the presentation. We're still loading the presentation.
We used to rent that house.
Does this all have to do with the SharePoint? Like I go through some big gold cloud?
But it's not full screen.
All right, we're actually both good. I'm sorry. Yakking. All right,
All right.
call the meeting to order. Debbie, can you take the roll, please?
Sure. Councilmember Brockmeyer. Councilmember Berger. Councilmember Holdren.
Present.
Councilmember Marino. Councilmember Knock.
Here.
Councilmember Oswald.
Present.
And Mayor Foskey.
Present.
Okay.
All right, we have a forum, and tonight's agenda item is budget, the 2024 budget. Did we, council, we had a question. I think we talked to some people that were unaware of the last meeting, that we have maybe some people that want to add. Would you like to hear some public comments about if somebody's here for a request that wasn't put in earlier? You know, here's our first, if they want some money from the town, basically. Yeah.
We're sharing right now, though, so.
I know the fire chief. I wanted to talk to something.
Well, that's in the budget.
Yeah, but you want
It's already
I'm sure. There's no formal way.
It's informal, you know, budget hearing, yeah. I just didn't want to, if we're gonna talk about the budget and somebody requests something else, you know, it's good to get it over first.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. Does anybody have any comments that they would like to address to add something? they're here for this. We haven't heard before. It's in addition to what the, I think the fire chief here is. Yeah, and, I'm not trying to cut you short, but you just talk about what you want. Yeah,
I appreciate the information.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys. Mike Radford, Fire Chief Hancock. I've seen some of y'all before, but I want to thank y'all for letting me come speak real quick. I just have a couple pages. I want to say something real, to discuss about some of our issues going on in our station, and then, I'll let you do your thing. I've got another meeting I have to get to right after this, so. The fire department in Hancock's been working on securing funding for the last several months, with numerous projects to bolster our capabilities between emergency response, situations and infrastructure resiliency. We've been working on in addition to our fire station, as we do not really have the room currently to house all of our apparatus, as some of you may see when you drive by the trucks sitting in the parking lot. Plans were made in the 70s when this fire station was built, but to keep costs down, the fire department could not build the additional space then. Significant architectural designing was followed for future building on site and is now being planned. We've obtained grants and funding from the Purdue Foundation at $50,000 to replace our aging and out-of-date technical rescue equipment. That goes to vehicle accidents and other tech calls. We have to raise the remaining $43,000 to receive that award, though, to make it basically a 50-50 match. We've applied for funding through various foundations to acquire PPE, our turnout gear that we wear, and also gear extractor and dryer at nearly $20,000. But as of now, we have not heard back on that grant. This equipment is important to reduce cancer and toxic substances that can and does kill firefighters every year. We must protect our members in every possible way available. We've also applied through federal funding from FEMA to replace 19 sets of turnout gear that average about $5,500 a piece. That comes out to a little over $74,000. But it will probably take until September to find out those results. So this past year, the Commonwealth created a working group through the House Bill 2175 to establish a state of the fire service regarding operations and funding due to increasing costs and inflation and having decreased sources of revenue. The work group found incredible data and should be very alarming to citizens and communities, departments, employees, volunteers, and stakeholders of the departments. One of the issues that have surfaced this past year was the Virginia Office of EMS and its budget deficits, legal issues, embezzlement, and so forth in the millions of dollars, forcing the Office of EMS to spend all grants and all funding immediately and for an unknown amount of time. These grants, previously called the Rescue Squad Assistance Funds, were often used to help replace ambulances with 80-20 grants, sometimes 50-50 grants, and we're not sure when that's going to resume. The work group conducted a study over the past 2 years on a needs assessment for the fire service in the state. 87% of the localities in the state responded, representing nearly 7.5 million Virginians. The survey illustrated that pass-through funding, coupled with increasing call volume and decreasing volunteer providers, was leading to untenable conditions and situations in localities related to fire and EMS. The call volume in the last 3 years has increased over 40%, while the state level funding for fire and EMS has increased only by 6.7%. Usually that's from our age of locality funding, where that comes from. In addition, rising prices for equipment is leading to older equipment with longer replacement plans. Current funding is not sustainable for future growth in the Commonwealth currently. Localities reported a total of 19,299 fire and EMS providers, both career and volunteer, that completed the survey. Virginia does not define specifically what requirements are of training to be a firefighter. However, in the Hancock, kind of strange to the rest of the score, we actually require at a minimum of firefighter 1. But that also requires a lot of time and training. And sometimes volunteers don't have the time to give up all that time to do the training. We do have several new junior members and cadets that are not trained and waiting for the next academy to start in 2025. FEMA reports that in 2023, 70% of fire departments in Virginia were volunteer, which is just slightly above the national average of 70%. Survey found that 91% of respondents reported a decrease in volunteer fire and EMS providers over the last 3 years. Most localities reported that volunteers' financial constraints, employment policies, and decreasing interest in younger generations were a major contribution to significant decline in volunteers. This can be tragic when trying to follow state and federal guidelines to the respect of safety. When the survey asked if the locality meets standards set forth by National Fire Protection Agencies regarding protection on fire responses, 70% said they could not, never, or rarely meet the standard. In the past 3 years, in that increased percentage of increased call volume of 40%, while funding has remained relatively stable for 20 years. Localities have reported that they're not able to keep up with rising costs of providing fire and EMS services, often leading to contract providers at minimum levels of service. A crucial component of serving citizens are the vehicles that carry first responders to emergencies and the equipment used. Virginia localities reported 806 total fire apparatus, including engines, ladders, brush trucks, and command vehicles, while the Office of EMS reported over 2,000 ambulances in the Commonwealth. The standard set forth by NFPA is 20 years for a fire apparatus. 20% of Virginia frontline fire trucks are above that time frame currently, and 14 of them of ambulances that are supposed to be replaced every 10 years. Now, I reported before that we recently received 2 brand new ambulances after waiting almost 2.5 years for delivery. We have 1 ambulance that is already 3 years past that 10-year service life, and our fire engine will be over 20 years old in 2027 and will need to be replaced. Just for example, in 92, this is when the survey was conducted over time, an ambulance costed $100,000, and today an ambulance is well over $350,000. A stretcher at that point in time was $2,000, and now it's over $40,000. From spring 23 to fall 23, increase in cost from life pack defibrillators, which we use to do 12 leads and assess your hearts, went 45% up. Same thing with stair chairs, 40% up. I just wanted you to understand kind of the spiraling effect that we're in currently with trying, not just us, but the entire service as a total of being able to replace some of this equipment. Also understand the fire department wants to remain here and at your service. We need help, and will help and help from our community as they always have and its leaders for many years. As much as we appreciate them and continue to request and plan them, we are no longer in the days where donations and fundraisers can provide the financial needs for our operations to be sustainable. We as a department and a town need to think in the very near future with increases in developments, increasing call volumes, decreasing volunteers, and county paid staff of the thought of employing part-time firefighters in our fire station. There will be a time when the county staff will not be sufficient and we're out of people. That's all I had, unless y'all have any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Do you have a specific amount you're asking, or way for the town to support the fire department?
I don't have
Other than what we do?
I don't have a specific number in mind at this moment. I know that y'all have already went and talked about budgets and you already had your hearing and stuff, but I just want to put some.
Well, the 25,000 that we give you every year is in the budget again, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
It's 40 actually.
Well, that they get a pass through from somebody else.
Oh,
Yeah,
still-
yeah, but we're not tampering with the state thing.
No, we're not, but
No.
it's still
But
40,000.
Our
comes to
donation
us.
is 25 grand, right? Okay, that's currently in the budget.
So we have, like I said, I know right now we're working with a designer, MWI Studios out of Maryland, that's working on a architectural design for, conceptual design for this addition. I know in the next couple months, we're gonna have to pay the initial lump sum fee for that. And we're working on a campaign that we think we can maybe get close to $500,000. But I'm not sure what the end all total cost will be of that project itself. But I wanted to make it aware to the town that at this point in time, moving forward, there may become a time that we can't replace things. We can't pay for them because we're not making the money off of donations that we were in the past, and things that cost have went up so much. From 2011 to this year, our cost of a fire trucks went up 103%. So I mean, it's not just here, it's everywhere, but you know.
I have one more question. Do the towns that don't have a fire department contribute to your funds?
I don't know if the towns.
Oh, I think it's.
Only, yes, we actually, last year, ARPA funds gave us $60,000. Which went towards replacing tools and equipment that were also
ARPA
expired.
funds from only? Okay.
And I believe I spoke to them last month and they were working on what they were gonna wanna send us this year. I'm not sure what the amount would be. But I don't think any other towns contribute to our.
But you answered the call to any town up and down the shore, and none of them contribute to the fire department?
Not necessarily to us, no. And the same goes for everywhere else. Like, you know, we go to Parksley, we go to Melfolk quite a bit. I don't think we contribute to them.
Okay, but I'm saying those places that do not have a fire department is what I'm asking.
They do have fire departments.
No, I know those,
They're not-
those do.
You talk
Are
about-
there other towns that do not have a fire department that you answer the call for? That's what I'm saying.
Incorporated towns, you mean, they've got
Right,
one.
Yeah. So are there,
Accomack's the one.
I think Taslin
Lot.
covers
Yeah,
Accomack,
Tazewell covers Accomack.
you know, and so I guess the question is, are there any other incorporated towns that you are the primary coverage for besides Owen?
No. And then actually, we split only with Hasley, but we do cover only all for EMS. Not the town portion, yes, but sometimes the areas outside of the town that are still considered only Melville will get. But we cover, I think one of the data was like 87% of all calls for EMS was from an Hancock there. So, and they usually, they're always helping what, you know, when we do talk to them and they want to know what they can do to help us, so they're always good with that. No other towns that I know of that they don't contribute.
Have you made a budget request to Only for this fiscal year?
Yes, we actually asked them, from the last meeting I went to, if they would match what they gave us last year. I don't think
The
they,
ARPA funds?
yeah, and I don't think they will based on what they had from ARPA was large. But I did ask for 60,000 for them again.
Yeah.
So whatever we get, you know. We're just
Under
trying,
task.
yeah, just working through it.
You mentioned a $43,000 figure that was additional money needed to, I got the impression it's matching money to pull down further money, is that correct?
Yeah, so, something that we're doing in Nancock, which is unique to anywhere else on the Eastern Shore, is we're working on a regional response team to be able to go to grain silo rescues, really bad vehicle accidents or people trapped in machinery at like Purdue. And part of that equipment that we needed was going to cost around $93,000. So we went to the Purdue Foundation and they were generous enough to give us 50 of it with the intent that we would match or, you know, challenge us to get the remaining, I think it was 43,000. And basically we have to do that by September. When I leave here tonight, I have to go talk to our department about which way we want to go with it, because we could pull funds out to match that and still hopefully recoup them somehow. But the goal was then we are now helping more communities with more people and essentially becoming contractors. If they have a bad call or they have a bad situation, or we have the tools. The closest ones, Virginia Beach and Baltimore, I would say, are up that way that would have this equipment.
So would you like us to consider that as part of the budget?
Sure, that would be good. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, yeah. Thanks for your service.
Truly, thank you.
Thanks.
Feel free to come by sometime. We'll get some call for it. Appreciate it.
Matt?
Yep.
Jack?
I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh, thank you. Not many do.
Good evening, everybody. Jeff Burnham, 14 King Street. This is a little bit of a request for some work and then some directional guidance on what a budget might be to support it. So the background is earlier in the year, a small cross-functional group consisting of Matt, Jenny Gaiman from Main Street, myself, and Cindy got together to discuss opportunities to better promote Onancock through coordinated and enhanced marketing investment. I don't think I actually ran into Maphis today, and she smiled when I mentioned I was going to talk about this. I'm clearly not the first person to come forward with this great idea that groups getting together and marketing the town, promoting the town is a good idea. But I was pleased that there was energy from our group and others that I've spoken to. As we got together, we discussed the need for a holistic marketing plan. So that's the request for a HOTFEST piece of it to support Onancock, and that would
Do you
be
want me to pause the share?
serving the residents of the town, communicating to them things to make the town more inviting for the folks that live here, attract visitors, support businesses, and promote the many town offerings. While collaboration is embraced, best efforts are often derailed by other priorities. I think we often relate to that. A limited pool of staff, and I speak from my OBCA work, a limited pool of volunteers, which continues to be a challenge. Thus, we often fall short in coordinating investment, efficiently pursuing grants, aligning messaging, sharing information, learning, and optimizing resources. So we envision a marketing plan to ensure alignment against a specific objective. So in promoting the town, what exactly do we want to accomplish? Define strategies to achieve that, detailed marketing, tactical plans, defined ownership for execution, another challenge that I think we all struggle with, timely measurement and collaboration with local organizations. So that could be everybody from OBC to OMS to HOS to, on and on. So just getting everybody together with what's going on and, talk about how to do that. I was tasked with drafting a plan, and as part of the process, I met individually with each group member, as well as Becca Myers. You may have heard her name. She's with Advanced Travel Tourism. She works with OMS, Eastern Shore Tourism, extensive experience across the state, and in this area. To get some sense of, okay, what would a plan to promote Anacog look like, and everything talks about tactics, measurement, and so on and so forth. She presented a couple of recommendations to the group. Prototypical plans could range from kind of a $50,000 number, seems to be a base that would work for a town such as ours, to a $75,000 plan, which we deemed as excessive. And frankly, we want to walk before we run. So going all out wouldn't make sense. The nice thing about Advanced Travel Tourism is they provide full service offerings. If contracted, they would create the plan, under our direction, and obviously heavy involvement from you guys. They create the creative assets, they manage execution. So all those little bugaboos that we deal with lack of staff and volunteers and all those things, this would be a group with a ton of experience, and they're compensated through commissions on the media that they buy. So it's, $50,000 would be the budget, if that's the budget. I'm not saying we would have to go that high. But we talked a little bit about how you would manage it. I won't tie up time with that tonight, but essentially the objective of me standing here is, I think we have reason to, there's so much going on in town, so much to come. But if you look at some of our challenges, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the businesses are struggling. There's not enough people. We struggle with events like Second Fridays. We tend to pull 100 people. If you do an event down here and an event up here, you split the 100 people. So there's real need. And I think from a business budget perspective, obviously more investment into the town by folks who live here, is also visit here, brings in more monies and so on. And, so it's an investment in the future. Okay, thank you. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
You sent us an email.
Yeah, and maybe just one point of clarification. What I'm proposing here is kind of a standalone. There's an example, Nancock Main Street has funding that does different things. So this is, if you agree this is a good idea and you establish a budget, this is a standalone, really focused on the promotion of the town. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one point, when we all met with Advantage Travel, the budget that came through was, I think it was 30,000 for OMS and 50,000 for the town. If I'm wrong only by a little bit. So are you asking for 50,000?
Well, I want to be hesitant asking for money at all.
Well,
Again,
yeah,
walk
I
before
get
we
it.
run. Yeah, I figured you'd want an estimate of, if we were to do a good job at this and, really, put a good foot forward. I think a $50,000 budget separate from what Anacog Main Street, because they do different things.
Yeah, no, that's their budget, not ours.
Yeah, so it would be separate from that. Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Jeff, I'm happy to hear that you're not asking for the 50,000 at this point.
Yeah.
Because you need a blueprint.
Yeah.
Of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and how it's going to work, and that may take to the next budget.
Yeah.
But I think the idea is workable and a good idea, because we're kind of helter-skelter.
Yeah.
All over the place, and it doesn't seem like anybody's focused on what is right in front of us.
Yeah, and coming from more of a corporate perspective, if I was doing this in the business environment, I would say, hey, here's the idea. Could you fence the money? Meaning,
Set it aside.
set it aside, get the plans, like this. My one fear here is, we're 24, 25. I can get back to you, with a budget quite quickly and the plans and how it would all come together. But I don't want to wait another year to get started, but understand, it's late in the process, there's a lot of priorities and so
I'm
on.
not asking you to wait to get started. I'm asking you to have a blueprint and then some foundation to begin building.
Yeah, and I guess my ask would be, if there, then again, I'm not privy to the budget and everything in front of you. If there's an opportunity to fence those funds, so if you like it, we can begin before 25, 26, that would be ideal.
I think there's some wiggle room.
Well, I'm asking how much are we fencing?
Well, let me answer it
Because
this way.
the
I think
OMS
if you
says
fence-
30, correct? I mean,
Say again?
OMS says 30. I think it's about right.
But it's doing different things.
It is doing different things, but they have 30. So they're gonna work with Advantage and they're gonna spend $30,000 to do it. What my question is if we want to fence 50 or 30 or 20 or whatever it is, that's fine. We just need to know what that is. We understand that OMS is doing their own
Yeah.
thing. But
But we don't know what
Well, the point
OMS is
is
doing
It all
anyway.
needs to be integrated.
Well,
And it needs to be a
that's the
unified
point.
plan of who's doing what and not overlapping each other.
Exactly.
I think that's the
And-
point, because we don't know what that 30,000 is for. So,
Well, we do. I mean,
Well, I
I've
don't-
approved it.
well, I
I've
don't,
been through the list.
let's send it again.
Yeah, and that's part of the process. There's a lot of moving pieces here, so let's slow down and get everybody on the same page.
And my question relates to how whatever marketing that is in the proposed budget that the town would be doing, would that potentially be diverted toward this? Or is that already in motion and committed and needs to stay where it is?
the budget for the wharf is committed and it needs to stay. The other budget, I believe, is only $7,000. And a lot of that is for advertising in the Post for budget hearings and other such things. So I just don't think that we have the capacity. That's why I'm kind of cornering and saying if you don't want to wait another year, what can we do for you in the current year that would make a difference?
And what I was trying to discern was whether there's anything that is here that might
Right.
redirect, so it doesn't sound
it would
like
be
it.
very minimal.
Yeah, not the full number out of the sky, but I would say somewhere around 30, 35,000. Matt and I spent a lot of time on markets that we would prioritize, and I think what I would suggest is we take a specific area, build a plan, execute so we can measure it, but somewhere in that range, of course.
Didn't hear you can measure it,
Yeah, well,
It's
yeah,
measurable.
Yeah,
that our investment will
Right.
bring tourists to town.
Okay,
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
all right, yeah, so we'll get back to the map, doing the.
Sure, I put together a PowerPoint for those who were in the audience. Now, the one thing is this goes in the same order as your packets, but your packets have a lot more information in them. Okay, so this is surface information. You guys have more deep information. So by all means, ask as we go through or hold it at the end and whatever works best for you. Yep. What we're going to go through tonight is real estate taxes, personal property taxes, water rates, major expenses that we sometimes don't think about, changes from year to year, and then our capital improvement plan. So that's what we're going to wander through this year, or this presentation. The first one was, gosh, we got another increase in our real estate assessments. 2 years ago, we got an increase of 18.8% on our real estate, and this year we're at 19.1%. Now, the way that works is you have to take the dollar amount of your current real estate taxes. In our case, it's nice and round, it's $400,000. Okay, you can pop to the next slide. So for us, we know currently at our current rate, we raise $400,000 in real estate taxes. Okay. The next is called the lower adjusted rate. And the lower adjusted rate means, given the higher assessment, what would the rate need to be in order to raise that 400,000? Okay, so does that make sense to everybody? Okay. That rate for us is 2350. So currently our rate is 28, and 2350 would be the rate in order for us to raise $400,000 at the new assessment. Okay. My recommendation is a 3% raise to real estate taxes across the board. The reason, I'll show the graph later, but the inflation across the country is 3.22%. 3% seems like a very fair number to increase our revenue to match our expenses. We're not looking to gouge anybody. We're not looking to hurt anybody, but 3% seems entirely reasonable. That's why I put it there. So a 3% increase in our taxes would take it to 2420. 2420. That 3% raises $12,000. If that's anybody's curiosity, 1% or 1% equals $4,000. Just as a trivia point. Yes.
So to be sure that I'm following right, it's the change in the rate is based on generating 3% more income, adjusting for taking into account the new assessments. It's not straight across and then 3%.
That's correct. It's on the lower rate. So when we said we need only 2350 in order to raise 400, the 3% is based off the 2350.
So it's
So-
not the
28.
19% assessment increase and then 3 on top.
That's correct.
It's 3% more in the bill.
That's right.
Thank you.
And each person is depending on your assessment. If your assessment went down, you could actually have your.
That's exactly right. It can go up and down. The aggregate would be, well, the aggregate of your assessment is going to average about 19.1, and
Right.
that's what would drive your 3%.
Okay.
So I know that was a lot of math, but that's how it's calculated. Personal property taxes are calculated a little bit differently, of course. First of all, I want to remind everybody that back in 2021, the council eliminated all business property taxes. We simply do not tax you on the tools to do your job. So I think that screams, we want businesses in this town. The current rates are, there are 5 tax types up top. There are 11 tax types in all. They're all listed down the side. We only apply 5 of those apply to us. The one that's at the bottom that says VH, that's vehicles. That's far and away the highest number for taxes. I'm on 7.
Yeah, the old
The
one,
new-
you
Go
don't
to the old
have
copy.
Number.
It's page 7.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
So the vehicles are the highest assessed value, but also we get what's called PPTRA, which is Personal Property Tax Relief Act from the state. So we get that 53,485 gets credited to the 176. So we have a net tax of 123,472. So that is the taxable amount for vehicles. 2 years ago, during the pandemic, remember when vehicle prices went through the roof? Well, we took the tax rate down from $2 down to 170, just to give some relief during a time when there wasn't much relief had. So what my suggestion is, we take it from 170 to 175, which is again 3%. So if you want an example of that, I pulled, and this is somebody's real car, a 2018 Subaru, worth, the assessed value was 18,475. The old tax was 314.08, and the new proposed tax was 323.31. So it was a $9 a year increase. Again, I think that's reasonable given the inflation that we're all facing.
This takes into consideration the, thank you, the relief on a vehicle under $20,000.
Yeah, the PPTRA is netted into that.
Thank you.
So it seems like you're asking for the 3% increase on the vehicles most.
Yeah, it's actually 5% on non-vehicles.
Yeah. Those,
From $2 to $210. That would be pleasure boats.
Yep.
Yep, things like that. So those are, people consider vehicles as essential and personal boats not. So that's why that went up 5%. But also the dollar amounts of our net tax is, it's tiny.
you get a $956 credit on your motorcycle. Some of
That-
tax relief.
That's the total of all motorcycles. So if there were 500 motorcycles in town, that, yeah, okay.
So do I understand you to say that you are not proposing a 3% increase in real estate? Because last year we were at 28 cents and now we're at 24 cents. But the increase you're proposing is on personal property, cars, motorcycles, boats, trailers. Is that correct?
It's not. Let me go back through the real estate. The real estate tax, so I'm looking at page 6.
Okay.
The real estate from page 6 is, the first column is as is. Our rate is 28 cents per hundred. So that's as is, and we raised $400,000 in real estate taxes. The rule then says, given your new increase in assessment, what rate would you need to charge in order to raise the same $400,000?
Because I
So-
understand you cannot make money on a reassessment.
Well, not popularly. So you
Legally, yeah, if you advertise.
yeah, exactly. I mean, but so anyway, that Joy turns into a rate of 23.50. So the same dollars with an increased percentage assessment, we raised 400,000 and change. That's where the old and the new level out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so then what I am suggesting is a 3% increase in real estate, which would take the rate from 23.50 to 24.20, which is literally 0.007 as far as a rate's concerned.
You gave a good example for a car. Could you give an example for a house?
Not off the top of my head, but I can email you one.
Well, for instance, my house appraises for 321,000, which is basic middle. income.
So 320,
Yeah, so 321,000 per hundred.
what's the rating? What was the old rate?
28.
0.28. So you used to be paying $8.98. And so, what,
No, I'm paying 15.58.
what, the county,
Which is what the town's basically to. Okay, go ahead with the town.
I just did, okay.
Assessment
Yeah,
is the
just do the
same.
town, go
I
ahead.
did,
Yeah.
okay, what was the number I just said?
898, did you
What's
say?
your value of your house again?
322, actually.
Okay, so, and the new rate is,
24.20.
776, does that go down?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we,
Well, you need to know what her previous assessment was.
right, you have to get her new assessment, so you have to have her 321 times,
2024 was 322, 2023 was 267.
right, but you have to go up by,
Yeah, we got.
I'm glad to send you this spreadsheet, I really am, but you have to go,
Everybody would like to know how much their
Well,
taxes are going
It
up.
depends on each person's.
it depends on each person's thing, and you're 19%, you have to take your $200,000 and then add it to the 19%, now you've got $238,000 that you're multiplying by a lower rate. So it balances out that way, and I'm more than happy to put an example, I can put one online if that's helpful.
Well, if you paid $1,000 in real estate tax last year and it went up 3%, you paid $30 more if your assessment
Right.
didn't change. But assessment changes, so we'd be working out math for every single person in the audience here. according to
No,
your-
that's not what I'm actually doing.
Yeah, but
The average would be 3%.
just, well, you can figure it out, yeah. But like if your assessment went up a huge amount, then you got a problem. I had a question on the number on page 14, you got personal property.
14, wow.
Personal
Tell me
property.
about where side you're on.
191,315. So where does that come from this?
Hang on, I
Page
get
on
to
page
page
7.
13.
It's not,
The real property at 394,
no, I'm talking about personal property, and past real property.
oh, the 191.
Yeah, the 191,316, how does that come out of this data on page 7 here?
Well, the reason it does is because we've been working with a collection agency to collect the money that
Okay,
has
so
gone uncollected for years and years and years.
Right, so the 142 plus the 58 would be somewhere close to that. if it's-
Yeah, that's about right. In
Okay.
fact, this year, the collection agency has done well over 60,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, but one
Threw me off.
Follow-up question.
There.
follow-up question on that. Is the return from that collection process gonna slow down, or do you anticipate it to continue with the same fruitfulness? I mean, are we kind of getting the most, the
Debbie's probably best to answer this, but we paid upfront $3,000 and we collected something like $30,000. Those are gonna be the older ones. But the more current ones that haven't paid their taxes last year, I would think are gonna be even easier to collect because they're more current.
With the 3%.
so there's, it's not just the old stuff that's being collected as a kind of one-time thing, there will be ongoing that you anticipate getting used.
Yeah, anytime after the due date is what we realize, the office has never had an opportunity to collect personal property. Real estate taxes, we have attorneys for that, we don't do anything with that. But personal property taxes, we had hundreds of thousands of dollars of unpaid personal property taxes because people just never paid. There were no consequences, there's no nothing, so now that's what we're going through is to really chop down that tree. Eventually, I hope to answer your question by saying,
Done.
they're done, but
Well, personal property goes off after 5 years, right? You can't collect it, right?
No,
Not
that's not
true.
true.
That's
it.
real.
Yeah,
Oh,
they,
oh.
yeah, so we're allowed to collect on personal property for a while. And the real estate, on the other hand, is turned over to.
Yeah, but they changed the state law about the properties, we used to write it off every year.
Yeah, no, we're not having to write it off every year, so.
Okay, I can clarify. Based on my house, which is an average house.
Yeah.
Nothing, there's many lower, there's many higher, typical middle class. I will see a $45 increase in my taxes for the year, because the assessment's staying the same.
So,
Mhm.
how much?
$45.
That doesn't make sense.
2024 assessment was 322,000. 20. Including
I thought you said-
2023 was 267,000.
Yeah, so there's a.
Right, but you need the,
Assessment didn't say the same thing. Oh, okay. Yeah, you went up a lot, yeah. More than 19% now.
But our taxes went down because they lowered the rate.
rate.
Yeah. Our taxes jumped to 19, I'm sure my husband appreciates it. We understand how this is gonna work. It was 1,900 and now it's 1,500. It went down because of tax rate, which I know Accomack County is not proposing a tax increase. Do you know if any of the other incorporated towns in Accomack County are?
No, I know Northampton's going up a full.
5%.
Yeah.
But we don't know about other.
I haven't really checked. There's some, the information that are, folks put that little blurb in the paper, don't share real specific things about rates.
What?
All right,
Everybody's required to put a summary of their budget in the newspaper.
Yeah.
You didn't see
And-
our full page.
You know, not a lot of them put a lot of detail in there, so you can't be too specific about what folks are doing.
right. All right, well,
Okay.
Tell me which slide you're on, because
So we're up to, hey, look at us go. So the PPTRA and the personal property tax is 5% for what are considered either non-required or luxury items, and then 3% for what would be required in a vehicle. And then you've got your example of $9.24 or 2.94% interest for the Subaru. Is that,
Old Subaru.
well, you know, it's an Hancock. There's a lot of Subarus here. So. Okay. Water. The top of the sheet says, and this came with good counsel, it says your billing shifts to monthly when your meter is changed. Okay, so what that means is in July, August, there's going to be a team here coming to replace all the meters. As soon as they replace your meter, your billing becomes monthly and it goes through HRSD. Period. It's as simple as I can get. As soon as your meter comes out of the ground, it takes its first reading for HRSD, and they're the ones that do the billing from that moment forward, and they do it monthly. There's a lot of different ways. We've got communication programs coming out in June and July to talk about, you know, you'll be able to pay at Walmart, you'll be able to pay at Corner Mart, you'll be able to pay here, you'll be able to pay, you know, online. They've got translators that even speak Haitian Creole, which you have no idea what a gift that is. So it really is going to help our community. And it'll go back. If you look at the dollar amounts between 2025 every month and 2025 every other month, it is simply half. There's no step up, there's no markup, there's no nothing. It is just simply half. The tiers that we have are exactly the same tiers that we've always had. So the minimum this year right now is $32.10. So where it says every other month, minimum of $33.06, Currently, it's 32.10. That's a 3% increase, if anybody sees a pattern.
Mhm.
I have a question on the sewer, the next.
Yeah.
The next part, it says it's $2.50 per day.
That's for sure.
Oh, that's for
That's
people
sewer
who,
only,
that's
that's what
sewer
I'm saying.
only.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, sewer.
Customers only have sewer on, I know we have
Well,
water.
Why, yeah, why,
We have,
yes, we
we
do.
do, yes, we do.
It's probably a handful.
10, maybe.
Yeah, sewer only rate means that you do not get water. You don't have town water. And there's no, because you don't get town water, there's no
Oh,
meter.
They have a
But
well.
so then the regular sewer, the other sewer rate is based on the gallonage. As
Yes.
it was before. I didn't see
Exactly,
that.
yes. And it's per gallon. There's no tiers, there's no nothing. It's very, very simple math. It's exactly what's going on today. We tried to, once we knew this was coming, we started mirroring the way that HRSD was going to bill us. So
So
you'll-
what is our sewer rate?
currently 1608.
Okay, so it's per gallons, okay, okay,
Yeah, per 1,000 gallons.
okay.
Okay, we're going up 3% now.
Yes, as a matter of fact. So, the only thing that's not going up 3% is garbage. Garbage currently, we pay $24 every other month. I'm proposing at $26 every other month. And it's just because our contract with Davis is increasing a little bit. I mean, Mike did a really great job helping us keep our cost down. Just so everybody knows, we have a contract with Davis for $108,000 a year to pick up our trash. The way we do it is we divide it by the number of residences and or water meters. That's as simple as it is. We don't make any money. We don't try to make any money. We just want to cover that contract.
Does HRSD set its own rates?
Yes. And they, as of the time I published this, they had not published their rates. So these are still ours. When it changes to them, their rates are their rates. Okay.
So they can raise rates at any point?
They raise them once a year. I can show you a spreadsheet that literally shows what their rates are for 40 years, what they expect to have them, and how close they got for the last 10.
Okay,
These folks are very, very good at what they do. So I would think that the 1656 would be right in the ballpark.
Okay, a couple of questions. One, for the sewer only people, when it goes to HRSD billing, what would the garbage part be that we would be setting?
They would still be charged $2.50 a day, and they would be charged for our garbage. They're doing all of our billing for us. So that includes garbage, that includes Department of Health fees, that includes water, that includes sewer.
But what I'm trying to ask is, does HRSD set the sewer only rate once the cutover
Yes,
happens?
yes.
And so what would the garbage fee be? The garbage only that we would then be setting for that group?
Yes, we set the garbage only. They set the sewer only.
Okay, but I don't see a garbage only.
Well, it's $26 or
Oh, okay.
$13.
Got it.
All
Sorry,
right, no, that's fine.
I was making it too hard. My other question is in the water tiers,
Yes,
on the over 15,000, that one the every other month versus every month is not half double. It's 809 versus 440. So.
I think it should be 4045.
Ah,
That's exactly the way it should be. Sorry. Thank you very much.
okay.
And that, and if you remember, we reduced the water price for our ultra heavy users to help them, especially up at the laundromat and the car wash. And she would dance in public, to show you how much that meant to her business.
No, I was just confused about the.
No,
thing,
that's
so
fine.
Thank you.
I'm hoping
It's an
that she didn't
interesting
hear that.
concept, though, the more you consume, the less you pay. Yeah.
Well, it's not the less you pay, there's an incremental cost of running a tower. I mean, there's only so much depreciation that goes in and goes out. So when somebody uses, 150,000 gallons a month versus, us using 1,000 gallons a month, it doesn't have the same wear and tear on all of the equipment and things like that. And quite frankly, we have the only laundromat in a long, long way, and it helps the people who need it. So it also helps some of our restaurants be profitable because they use a lot of water as well.
That's a volume discount.
Yes,
basically.
that's
And-
exactly
and
what it
you
is.
expect that when you're using or buying a volume discount.
Yeah.
I just have a question on the tampering. And it should be a fine instead of fee.
That's fine.
Tampering fee, yeah, it should be a fine, you're right. Thank you. No, it's, these new meters are expensive.
Yeah.
And we have story after story after story about people who had their water turned off and thought they were smarter than we were, so. And it ends up damaging a very expensive piece of equipment, so that's the first time this has been in there.
Matt, are you confident that, going from, every other month to every month, we'll be paying the same amount?
Well, it's mathematically, yes, I'm saying it would be exactly, if you use 1,000 over 2 months and 500 over 1 month. Now, if you use 1,100 1 month and, 90 1 month, you're still gonna, the minimums are still gonna be the minimums.
Right.
So if you have people who are at the minimum, it's still gonna be, but it's 1653 rather than 3306. So if you're a person who's at the minimum, your bill goes in half each month. And what I'm hearing is people, first of all, they hate our bills because they get stuck in every magazine and little lip flap that goes through. These are coming through in envelopes with full-size paper that you can actually read and things like that. So they'll be able to see, and it's like an A&M bill where you'll be able to see your usage and graph it out and things like that. It's really well done. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did not, but I'll ask again.
Go ahead.
I had this problem when this first came out, and Debbie and I put our heads together and figured it out. I did the math, and for every month, and I based it on 3,000 gallons of water and sewage, because they're matched. $17 for water, $25 for sewer, $13 for garbage, comes to $114. At every other month, it only comes to $109. So there seems to be a $5 increase there when we switch to every month.
Did you say that?
I,
Because if you.
are you taking the use,
So
are,
this is months ago. we
no, it was,
switched.
I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking, but did you take the usage and split it in half? Or are you basing it on the same usage for
I
each?
used 3,000 gallons of water and 3,000 gallons of sewage and split them each in half. Which is what I wasn't doing last time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at these numbers,
I
but,
haven't either, so.
but when
I'm-
we,
I'm more
if
than
you split the
happy to see
volume in
the
half, it,
Analysis on this.
Because that was what people said to me. I'm happy with
Technically.
every month, just don't raise my rates.
Yeah,
So they should be half every month of what they are every other month.
The If the usage doesn't change.
If the usage, they have to use the same,
It's the same.
Well, because the minimum used to be $111.87, period. That was the minimum billing. And now it fluctuates a little bit by usage.
and now the minimum's actually
Because
$58.
because it starts at zero
Yeah.
and goes from there, but.
So the minimum for a month is 3,000 gallons
Of water.
of water. The minimum, if you go to every other.
Well, it
month,
doesn't matter whether you use 3,000 or not. If you
Yeah.
use 5 gallons,
Right,
it's still the minimum.
So, but if you use if you use 3,000 gallons each month, I mean, the math just works out, it's exactly half. I don't see it.
That's what I said, except you come up with 114 every month,
But
and
how do you do that?
109 every other month.
I have to look at the math.
Gabby's going.
Yeah, let me,
I gotta
let
see the
me,
numbers.
we'll go through it together and,
Seems odd.
The one place where I could see a difference is in the upper tiers. That if you're going over a 2-month period and you're looking for 12, and you're hitting 12,000 gallons.
yeah, that
And
part,
you only hit the 12,000 near the end of the month, then you're not gonna be hitting that in a monthly cutoff, because
the other thing that happens there is with Victor reading meters manually, if he slips a day or goes out sick or takes a vacation or whatever, it throws off the number of days that are between, service days. So this will avoid that completely.
Debbie, I just did your work for you and found my mistake.
Okay.
It's now corrected.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm done. I like that.
All right.
Well done.
We got water, what are we on?
All right.
So the question is answered that it is exactly
Yeah,
half with,
yes.
okay.
All right. So the next slide you should see is the reason that I've just hammered on 3%.
Quad-show motor, is it not like it?
It's not like it.
Well,
Well, let's see it. We're trying.
Yeah.
Never mind, sorry.
Hang on, be patient.
there we go.
Oh,
There it is.
Thank you.
So, the Bureau of Labor Statistics over the last, 20 years graphs out their thing. These last years have averaged 3.2. So that's where my 3% came from, if anybody's curious. So, and that includes all items, not, we're not excluding anything.
Next slide.
Okay, so the next sheet is the total town budget by business activity unit. If you're looking at the screen, you're gonna see that the expenditures in the governmental activity, so governmental activity are everything we've been talking about, taxes, meals, taxes, expenses, all that, that's a governmental activity. Our expenditures, without the use of reserves, are up 0.2%. So even though we've had a 3% increase in a couple of areas, we've had decreases in a couple of areas also. So our revenue and expenses for governmental areas are only up 0.2%. If you go down to business activity, which is water, it says after tank care reserves have an increase of 0.008. I want to talk about the tank care, okay? We had talked about having the tank washed, right? Because it looks terrible. When I talk to the people at Southern Corrosion, they have a program that costs what it costs to get your tank cleaned. But if you do it every year, they wash it in year 1, then they seal it inside in year 2, then they wash it again in year 3, then they seal it in year 4, they repeat that, and then every 8 years, they paint it again. So without accumulating huge debt. And if you remember, the tank painting cost us $145,000. Now that included the sealing, which they're gonna do, that included the spray washing, which they're gonna do. So what it does is it takes these massive expenditures and it spreads it out over a time when it makes good sense. The other thing they do is a full preventive maintenance on all moving and non-moving parts inside the tower. So, and that's kind of a big deal. If you've never climbed up on the inside of that tower, that is a treat.
Open.
Well, if you look up, you'll see a little porthole.
I'm
Up.
asking, is it open to do?
I've made it to the porthole. So yeah, it's way up there, but there's also a lot going on in there that you wouldn't think is because of the way the wells come up, the way the pressure falls down to, and you have to keep it at 254 feet in order for it to maintain the pressure throughout our entire system. And they take care of all of that included.
Wasn't there mold on the outside of that thing at one point as well?
It's not technically mold, but yes, there's discoloration because
It's not mold.
the temperature of the water coming out of the well is colder than the temperature of the tank. So it causes that discoloration on the outside, and that's perfectly normal, but it does need to get washed off.
Okay, so it's not sealing and sanitizing, it's just cleaning.
Well, it's cleaning on year one, and then on year two, they empty it, and then they'll seal the inside again. And then on year three, they wash it again. So they have a step, and I have the brochure of all of the things that they actually do for us, but that's why I wanted to call that out. It is included as an expenditure, but even with that expenditure and a minor increase to reserves, our expenses only go up 0.008.
So what's the bottom line to the expenditure? Is that the 300,000?
The bottom line to the expenditure is 305, but you have to remember we have debt service of 157. That debt service is 2.6 million right now, just so you know.
But the cost of all the services that you were talking about.
That's
Yes.
included in the 305.
It's included in the 305, yes.
We went from 273 to 305, basically.
Yeah, that's,
On
and it's
that-
$19,000 if
Yeah.
anybody's curious. I'm not trying to hide
And
anything.
that goes there, that's gonna be every year. but-
Yes,
So for that company, which sounds fabulous, do you have references and checked
Oh,
out
yeah.
that they do what they say they're gonna do and?
They're big time.
Cause it
Yeah,
really
they-
does sound fabulous.
yeah, they do every tower on the shore,
Yeah, they're big
Yeah.
time.
and then some. They're a big company.
Thanks. And one more thing, just to be sure, so the town of Anacog section is the total of the three above it, is that?
Yes, the way that works is do it the way I used to teach accounting. Every silo has to balance to zero. So that's why the governmental activities all has to balance to zero. The special grant revenue, those are later, I talk about it later, but those have to balance to zero. What we take in has to equal what we put out.
No, I just
Same-
was trying to confirm that the fourth section
Yes.
labeled the town was not separate, but was the sum of the ones above it.
It is the sum of ones above it, but it's not operational, and that's what I wanted to get to, is special revenue for grants is included in the bottom, but that's not necessarily included what we would normally do on a day-to-day basis, because that includes, I'm making this up, Lilliston, it includes the northeast section. So that's the budget. It balances. The next page is by department. You can see department by department by department. I'm not going to read these to you, but at the bottom line, you'll see that it does tie to zero again. So this ties out all of your government activity and your business activities, and then it ties out all your department activities, and that ties to zero again. The next page, you folks are the only ones that have this, but the wages and benefits, there were no material increases in any retirement number or medical insurance or anything along those lines. So those were static. I've recommended a raise of 2.75% raise to all employees. If you remember last year, we went through a lot to get everybody up to market price. Everybody's pretty much at market price except one of our people. That recommendation is in this sheet. Probably the biggest change is that I've removed the 5th police officer from the budget. I think that our current force is doing very, very well. I think that as soon as we get 5, we lose 1, and it just seems like a never-ending cycle of training, and it's $18,000 to train an officer. So my recommendation is to stay with 4. Go through the year, see how it works. If we lose any, we'll figure it out. If we have somebody come in that's a superstar, we'll have to figure that out at that point too. So, but I've removed it for budgetary purposes. And just for those of us who do business for a living, or at least used to, our 34% of our operating is wages and benefits, which ain't too bad.
Yes, 1/3 of our budget. I understand number 4, number 3. I do not understand number 2 exactly.
There's one more person that requires, I can, she's sitting here.
What's a market adjustment?
A market adjustment means that she needs to get a raise in order to become marketably competitive with the people who do the same job she does.
In a town this size.
In a town this size. The other thing that's happening, and this one is completely out of our control, the Department of Labor is requiring that any salaried person be paid a minimum of X dollars. There was an old school way of getting somebody to work really hard for very little money, is you make them a salaried employee and then you work them 70 hours a week. Well, this covers for that. So it says that a salaried person is going to make X dollars at a minimum. So that's what this is for.
I've got a question.
Excuse me.
Last year we raised salary 7.9%.
That was about right. Yeah.
Across the board.
Across the board, right? And so are you saying that was the amount required to bring them up to market?
Yeah, I think if you,
because as you said, the CPI changed 3.2, something like that %.
right, but if you also remember, that was the time when we were losing people and we couldn't hire anybody because our wages were so uncompetitive. So yes, the budget added that at the end, but before that, we gave people significant raises to hire and keep them. What I'm saying right now is I think we're on the 2 and 3 chain. I think we're just chugging along. I don't think there's anybody that needs a market adjustment except one. I think that we stay with CPI and we just make a really consistent budget moving forward.
I saw that the state, I think, is increasing 3% too.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people deviating from that number.
Where does the market value come from?
If you
Where do
compare,
you find the figures?
if you talk to the people in Chincoteague and Cape Charles and talk to them about what the equivalent person would be paid.
Before we did this, bringing people up to par, there was a whole discussion in council to decide that we were well below the market and we needed to do that adjustment to maintain the staff we had. And I remember us doing that. And you know, and right now you're just talking about a cost of living kind of increase. Just making a statement.
Yeah. What's the next slide? The next slide is just narrative for me. I'm gonna just walk through this with you. We talked about the tank care agreement. That is $19,750. That's sort of a material expense that we've not exceeded before. One thing also with water is when
Excuse me, I don't know what page you're on.
you don't have this page. You don't have this page. Because you already saw the 19,250. This one is just a note that said when the meters are replaced in August or whatnot, you have to realize that our water technician becomes 50%. And I have other plans for him, but I just wanted you to know that that's a staffing change that's going to come as a result of
Meters. Meter switch out, meter switch out.
You know.
yeah. And well, just so you know, I have no intention of terminating. To be clear, I have other jobs. I mean, we're building pretty nice bathrooms that are going to be awfully clean. You know what I mean? Okay. The public works, one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to get electricity is becoming so expensive. And we tried moving it from department to department to say, you know, look, this is how much it costs to run this building, and this is how much it costs to run the telephone poles. And it just wasn't working. So we combined in public works the electricity. So except for the marina, which is fully separate, and except for the water tower, which is fully separate, we're putting everything in public works. So when you read that department, you're going to see like, oh my God, what happened to electric? That's what happened to electric. And then, yeah, I think that was, I think that this one, I just wanted to assure everybody that we had protocol for everybody to know that HRSD and we have protocol to tell everybody what's happening, when it's happening, what it means, sample bills, all of those types of things. And those will happen long before somebody sticks a shovel in their ground.
2 questions.
Yeah.
One, can we get a copy of this since there's summary in here
Yeah,
that we don't have?
Sure.
And 2, I understand what you're saying about the water, but what about office water billing time?
That's one of the things that we're going to be able to level the playing field a little bit and find out, because all of us right now are overwhelmed. We're going to be looking at a potential retirement and things like that. So, okay. All right, what's next? I just wanted to put a note together for everybody to see how we behaved when we all got those giant assessments. In 2023, we were up 18.8, and we ended up with a net real estate tax of 3.7%. We reduced the vehicle rate. The water went from 29 to 32, which was pretty low given all of those increases. And the garbage pickup was 12. Comparing it to 2025, we had a 19% increase, a 3% real estate. We went up 3% on vehicles. The water went from 32 to 33, which is 3%, and the garbage pickup was up $1. So I think given those dramatic changes to our assessments of all of our real estate, I think we acted conservatively and properly, and I really do think that it was well done. What's next? Next is CIP, which is the Capital Improvement Plan. This is I think the third time we've had this in this meeting. It is required as part of the resolution that you're gonna vote on the 24th of June. Literally nothing changed on this piece of paper since the last time you looked at it.
What page is that?
Back.
21,
Excuse me?
21.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Once we buy the backhoe in the water department truck, I think that pretty much covers all of the equipment and vehicles we need to buy.
I think I've got a generator for the water tower. But yeah, as far as
Water
vehicles,
generator.
yeah, as far as vehicles are concerned, yeah, we're all set.
Yeah, everything's been replaced,
Just about, yeah.
just about or has.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
Well, that made me think of something. Didn't the fifth officer have a vehicle?
yes.
What happened to it?
It's
We don't
sitting
have an
out back.
officer.
Well, it's sitting out back. They rotate through, so they're not all identified the same way. They keep the engine running and make sure it's not gonna, but I mean, it's long since paid for, the fifth one. We're also selling the Charger, that was the former police car. As soon as it warms up a little bit, we'll put that for a blind bid. We also have a huge dump truck that nobody can seem to fix, that I think we're just gonna sell for scrap. So we ought to be able to offset some of those things.
Do we have designs for the Queen Street parking lot?
We've retained, I've gotten bids from two people to do those. To do those designs. One was Hill and he came in at $50,000 to, okay. Next. The other is John Salm, who does all of our, you know,
I know.
yeah, and he gave us a quote at 14. And we also, and he was, I'm gonna say, shrewd enough to say he needed a topographical survey before he could do that, because he didn't know where the drainage was. So I got that done. So we have, I believe, an engineer who's done plenty of parking, the topographical, and then so yeah, we're close to a design phase, but I'm not entering a design phase until you appropriate the funds.
Are you saying that we have to appropriate the funds before we would actually see a plan?
Well, you're gonna have to pay for the plan anyway.
It's not in the budget.
If he's an engineer, how is he incorporating the landscaping and the kind of visual aspects?
He's got landscape architects that work with him.
Thanks.
Is there any possibility that Queen Street parking lot would be a permeable surface?
Ooh,
No, there's cheaper ones out there now, right? I've been here, right?
no, there's not.
I've been reading about them.
I would love to see that, but
It's a lot more.
So what are we
They're a lot
talking
more to
about?
maintain too.
yeah, I spoke with your neighbor and I asked him, I gave him a number of square feet. And he told me that it probably required 2 inches of asphalt and what that would cost.
It's supposed to be a
based
hot
on,
farmer's market.
Question on the permeable. Is there a possibility of doing even parts of it as permeable?
I'm gonna talk to the topographical survey fellow to find out if there's a natural
If
low
there's
point.
spots that would be particularly conducive to
Yeah.
that, even if we can't do the whole thing, that we could make use of some.
Yeah, I mean, the worry I've got is, you know, the parking lot that we've got out back was also supposed to be permeable. We never took care of it and now it's clogged up It doesn't serve the purpose that it was designed, so I'd like to find something that's, let's say, carefree.
Self-maintaining.
Yes, self-maintaining.
There's such thing as a.
Not permeable for sure.
Annual cost to clean that sucker.
Yeah.
Is he gonna be working with the stakeholders, the businesses that own, well, some people,
I
we gotta
would,
get together with all in the state.
yeah, I would also do the new, I know that somebody's looking at the Fowler's place. So yeah, I would involve anybody that's in that
Yeah, so we're gonna have.
circle.
Preliminary meetings about, talking about it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna check with John Song to get a,
Oh, he's already-
well, as Sarah suggested, at least maybe part of it.
Yeah, I'll talk with them about what we can do to make it, as impervious as possible. Without, making it gravel
Well, where is the?
or
where is the
pervious
money
rather.
For him in this, I think we're kind of straying off the budget here. a little
Well,
bit.
it's, well, it's included in the Queen Street number.
Yeah, okay, that's right, yeah, okay, yeah, it's included in that number, that's what I mean.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay, great, yeah, so we're, just wanna make sure we got that number there. So, and that's gonna happen in this budget, next budget cycle, correct, the Queen Suite?
Yeah,
We're trying to get that going, right?
if you say yes to this, as soon as you vote on it, I'm gonna move on this, because I really do believe this is the most important project that we've got going on. And that means we can use some of the light fixtures that we've picked to lighten up the parking lot that, will work. We've got alleyway, we've got those alleyways that we have to light up.
All right, okay, well, any other questions about capital? We've been over this a couple times, that's it.
Not about capital, but other things.
Yeah, well, no, let's move on, yeah, I'm just trying to get, okay, I think we're finished with capital and group descriptions. What else you got?
What else do I have? Oh, I have a lovely graph that shows our percentage of revenue. Basically, it's real and personal taxes are the upper right blue. Meals and tot are the darker blue. Water is the brown. Sorry about that. Sales and non-local taxes, which is like consumer taxes, cell phone taxes, all of that is 11%. The wharf is a whopping 9%. And then miscellaneous things are 8.2. So I think it's a nice spread. We don't have all of our eggs in one basket. If one thing gets hurt, we're not going to get hurt. So, and then I quoted Ann Knock. Onancock is like other American towns in many respects, but it also has its own identity. And then my mantra is increase its vibrancy and protect its soul. Here's one more. There you go. Okay.
I'm gonna stop sharing this now.
Does anybody have any specific questions about each department? The numbers here go through.
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
Okay, let's we always do that, so let's try to
on page.
hold on a second. Let's go through with.
Very
the
good.
planner here.
Look,
Town council, first page 13, anybody have any questions about that?
Yes,
Okay,
the Main Street Partnership, is that line the MOU with Main Street?
The 25,000 is the percentage that they get a tot.
And the other amount, right? Isn't
Well,
that
the-
15,000 plus that?
Well, it's the tot, we try to do this, the 57.5 that's up top, that's the grant that you got for murals and whatnot. The $25,000
that's
is
the one
your,
they applied for, correct?
well, it's the one that we agreed to
That's the matching
match.
money.
The matching, but that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, but that's not last, this is.
No, this is this coming year. And then the $25,000 is the estimated portion of tot, 75% of tot.
Any other questions about, town council section? Okay,
It certainly is an increase in our town attorney.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago, it was $4,000, now we're at 36, and that's not including E EDA.
And do we know where that increase came from?
I do, it was org,
Say it again.
it was org. I
In what-
mean, they ran up our legal fees like never before.
No.
I could show you the bills.
Okay, we saw this coming, I mean, our legal work has just been, you know, a lot more.
Well, we were looking at $24,000 straight up for, and $2,000 a month.
Right.
And now, and that seemed to be marketable, market value, something, and then we were gonna go the same, looking for the next year, looking at the same thing, but now we're going up 50%.
Mhm.
And
I thought we had an introductory rate, and he
That
had
was-
explained that it would probably go up.
He did,
He said,
Is
he
it correct?
she's right.
he definitely said that he would do the first year, see what the
What
amount,
it looked like.
what it looked like. And we, yes,
Reassess based on the workload and
right, the workload is more.
higher.
Yeah, yeah. The, and, you know, along, we used to hire attorney, you know, on retainer. I don't know, on a retainer that was a lot more than, and then we went to this piece billing, which actually, because we didn't seem to have a lot of legal work in a certain time period, and then we didn't have to pay much, and for 4 years, we had town manager was our town attorney. So, and we've kind of saved on legal fees, but we're getting back to what we paid back in the 70s, you know, the 80s and 90s, we were paying a fair amount out, yeah.
Fair amount, what we.
Well, not this much, but I mean, we did have we paid, you know, when David Rowland, our attorney, we paid, I don't know what it was, but it was 12 or 15,000 at least then.
I don't think it's productive to point fingers and say that these fees have been increased because of certain groups. Because certain groups are not talking to our attorney, Mr. Spock is talking to our attorney. And as I pointed out, EDA will have their own separate attorney from Mr. Greger. So there will be no increase, but this is, you know, if you look at the 2022 budget, 4,500. 23,500, 24,000, 36,000.
I would say that we changed and reviewed large pieces of our policy that required attorneys review
Mhm.
and the financial policy.
So
So,
those are done now.
yes,
Yeah.
those are done, but they did take a lot of time.
So do you say that we could probably go to the next year with the same 24,000?
No, this is a fixed fee.
Oh, this is a fixed fee.
Yeah,
You either have it or you don't.
We don't have any choice in it then, based on the use from the last year.
exactly.
Okay.
But
So there is that.
it sounds as though potentially if this next year is a quieter year, that it might at least stay static or possibly
Yeah,
hypothetically drop somewhat.
I think that's very fair.
36,000, is that what I just asked? That it would, I think it's gonna be 36,000 is the new fee, but it will
For-
drop,
For 2025, it'll be 36.
right?
For 2026 is what I was speculating about,
We don't know.
which was pure speculation, worth the paper it's not written on.
Okay.
All right, any questions about administration? Police,
Hold on. Where would be the timing and the section to talk about the requests that are?
I think he's talking about taking them out of this year's budget, correct?
Which I'm gonna go ahead and say the magic word pickleball court.
Yeah, and then the question, playhouse, those two things.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, you were talking about.
I was talking about reserves.
Well, there
for
were other
this year.
things on there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's go, we can add those in later. Yeah, but I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about them, but not right on this.
Yeah, and that's what I was,
Yeah, well,
because
that's gonna come up. Yeah, no, we're not gonna go off it.
I do see the Commission for the Arts on here, so I wasn't sure if,
Right, we can add it into that. Yeah.
But that's the rollover or roll.
But if we lose it from last year's budget, it's not in this year's budget, so we don't need to put it in here if we're gonna use this year's budget for, it. If we have excess money.
I asked Matt about that and it's the pass-through funds. I mean, it's not.
No, we're not. talking about the same thing.
Big, oh, okay,
We're talking about a $10,000 gift for their air conditioning if we decide to do that, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, let's just go over this first, then we'll get back to that. Administration?
I have one more question. On page 15, the last line,
What are the 2 pages?
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
I kind of dislike that word gift. And
Uh,
it was matching funds for specific uses, which to me isn't the same thing as a gift. And a
Oh.
grant matching money.
I can change that. That's fine.
Police, I think we went over that, mostly salaries and stuff. Anybody have any questions about police? Okay,
Yeah, how's our cameras working out?
Cameras are doing okay. We're starting to get them in places that are making more sense, and we've got brighter lights in the northeast section, and we've moved one to another street that was by request. So, we're moving forward. I'd like to get power to the Welcome Center so we could get those cameras up and running because they work beautifully. So,
So do we pay a yearly fee of 16,500?
yes,
16,500 flat fee?
that's per camera.
well, no, wait a minute. 16 per camera?
No, it's
16,500.
16,000, but it's per camera. We have so many cameras and it costs 16,500 for those cameras.
All the cameras,
All the
not per
cameras,
camera, yeah, okay.
correct.
Right, okay. Give me for a minute.
Can I ask a question here too?
Sorry, on police, on police.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. go ahead.
Animal population control. It's $500, and how does that get used? Because I know everybody's talking about the cats in the lot. And the cat population that's running the town. What do you do?
Well, what the chief has told me is that the animal control police officer does not manage domestic animals.
Okay, I get that. So because like when there's a raccoon call, that's her job. to
That's
go
her
and do
call,
that.
yeah.
But animal population control seems to me to be, you're not gonna control population of foxes and those things. So. that's
You want me to
control
change
of
it
the
to
animal.
non-domestic animals?
Huh?
Non-domestic animals?
What is that, where does that money go?
It goes to, basically, it goes to Kim for new traps and things like
Oh, okay,
that.
okay, it's per, okay.
Right,
For training.
okay, but
You're right,
so we're still not budgeting anything to take care of. The animals. Thank you.
Any other questions about police? Fire, we had we had a request from the chief because we want to look at the money we're giving to the fire department. That's it.
I would suggest that we see if we can help fund the, some part, if not all the 43,000 that they need, and part of it.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
So where would we get that money from?
I don't know yet.
So, is it gonna come out of this year's budget or are we gonna put it in next year's budget? We kind of have to know if we're gonna put it in the budget, correct? Or are you gonna work on that? Are you gonna give us?
I think I'm gonna have to work on that one because there's no way to know whether they're gonna close on the HRSD sewer pump stations. So I can't count on using that.
Yeah.
So
So, what amount do we need to toss out amount for what we?
What are we buying? What are we getting?
We're gonna give a donation to the fire department to help
For
their equip for their emergency response truck that they're developing that's gonna cover the shore for extrication and.
Is it part of the matching grant?
Yeah, part of the matching grant that got the Purdue fee. Or the other option is, we've been giving them $25,000 for what, 20 some years and inflation is eating away at that, so, that's another option. We could bump that up and not, give them specific, I'm just throwing that out there. That would be a budget item, so we, might need some guidance from where to go on this, we don't wanna let it just shoot in the dark.
I'm in support of kind of whatever we can do, especially with the thing that you mentioned about the state funding, if I heard right, to local fire and rescue departments being cut off because there were so many places where that was being misused and embezzled. And now the ones who were doing it right don't have that money available, so they're whatever we can do to help them keep their equipment current. I think serves us all.
Well, do you want to get back and give us some scenarios about this couple of different numbers and
Sure.
where you come up with, because we don't seem to have a consensus.
And possibly if there's room for some out of this year and then some out of next year. I mean, it doesn't have to be
I
all
can-
in one or
I can
the other.
call Mike and find out what the timing of of the equipment
He
purchase
said
is, and that'll help.
September. He said they had to have the money to know by September. So if we don't do it with this, then it's not gonna help them.
Well, we have two, but we could do it with the existing, a little bit this year, and so Sarah was suggesting some for next year.
Well, we should increase what we give anyway. Like you said, inflation and everything else, but I'm just saying, they need to know that they're gonna get $43,000 more by September.
Well, there's, so we have two different things. One is the annual 25,000. You want to increase that, and there's also this specific request for this truck.
Well, for this year, I would like to just see that we do something to contribute to this and leave our 25,000 the
Okay.
way it is, and then contribute to this
Okay,
matching fund.
it's not gonna work some numbers out for us. And come-
I disagree. I think we should try to do both. I think we should up our annual contribution to the fire company. If it hasn't changed in 20 years, we,
Well, it's probably, it might be,
Well,
it was that,
been a long time.
since we still gave it to the fire department.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem to me that just in good conscience, we should up that amount. As well as try to assist with the additional amount they need to match this grant.
Do you have a dollar amount?
I can make something up if you want.
Go.
No, you'd rather make it up, okay?
All right, you're gonna get back with on those numbers on that, okay?
I am.
So we're interested in doing something. We'll see what the numbers. Public Works, any other questions on Public Works? I think we're pretty clear. Okay, I'm sorry.
Question on Public Works.
You gotta be quick.
Clearly.
No, I'm talking about you. When I say I turn the page, not, you have time when you talk about it.
For blacksmith shop, what does the $150 cover?
Insurance.
Not much.
That's a bargain. Okay, Wharf and Marina, any questions about that one? And I think we've probably talked about quite a bit about water,
Actually, sorry, on Wharf and Marina. It looks like there's an anticipated something of a. No, spending more than we would take in. Spending 206, getting 197. I know that we can't predict at the beginning of the year how many people are gonna be coming in and out, but
It's also gas that we don't know what the price or
yeah.
retail on gas is. If you look back a few years ago, we lost 31,000. Before that, we lost 20,000. Last year we made 13. I think in 2025, I think we're going to do just fine, but I don't have any way to know how many linear feet of boats are going to come in and how many slip nights and. how
we're not
much
required to
gas.
balance the budget for each department.
No,
It's just the
No.
whole budget has to be, yeah.
I was just wondering about the trend, so thank you.
Matt, on the last line of that area of water, it says, the very last line says transfer to reserve. It's
Wait a
23.
minute, you're-
I'm on water and sewer page.
No,
We
water.
still on the Work and Marine before that.
well,
yeah, that's the small amount that we get to put into our savings account.
Okay, I'm just looking at money for the fire department. I'm just wondering whether that's an area where you can start tapping.
All right, water and, okay, and then, grants, I think,
Right?
this was, I don't think there's anything you can throw out here,
No, it really is just timing. I mean, we've got our first Lilliston cash from the state is coming in I'm hoping tomorrow, maybe the next day. The Northeast community is making some decisions, prioritizing the work that they're doing. The ARPA grant, we've got 470,000 left and we will spend every nickel of it. And then the 57.5 is the transfer from reserves for the match to the Main Street.
All right, so I think we've gotten, so now we're back to the requests we've had that aren't in here, so, does somebody want to start on that? I guess the first one, I guess the fire department is kind of, is that, I guess let's start with the playhouse there. I'm not the request we got the other day, I'm not on the page.
But they requested
The
that.
people that came in and requested money, so, we need to give council's opinion about what we want to do with that,
I don't
and you,
have the list.
and you, yeah,
Doesn't even
yeah,
have it.
I have some
I
of
have
those,
a copy of it.
but I'm gonna go over some if I miss something, Matt, can you?
Yeah, I've got my
Let's
list.
start with the.
I can
Playhouse
tell you what they
right?
are.
Um,
Playhouse
well,
10.
why don't you go over, yeah, they got the Playhouse, let's write it down here, the Playhouse wanted $10,000, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and then, the pickleball was.
Was 80.
80,000. The North Street, the Northeast neighborhood, that was, is that already in the budget for the mulch and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, no, I'm sorry, no, I was using this money.
You were using what money?
I was using this money for, I'm trying to find where,
Is it, are you talking about this budget transfer that you sent on April 26th? That covered some of these items?
I'm using my original notes, so honestly, I don't know, but I'm looking for. I've got, maybe if you could just bear with me and go in my order,
That's
I've
fine,
got the
yeah.
pickleball courts of 80.
Right,
I've got the HVAC at the Playhouse of 10. I've got the EDA of 20. I've got CBs of 3.
I
I've
thought we
got,
voted to give the EDA already, that's a done deal.
yeah, but it's still part of this
Okay.
source of money.
Right, I see.
Okay.
Please, what, how much, please?
3.
Thank you.
I've got notes for increase in fire department. Oh, here's the mulch. And I got the bill for that, or the quote for that, and it's 16,000.
So high.
Is that small?
It's rubberized.
Rubber.
It's rubber.
Does it have to be exact?
They have wood mulch.
They had wood mulch, but is this playground approved?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same stuff that's at the school, correct?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's nice stuff. It does smell a little bit, I think, but- Give her-
And then I've got a couple, one says, increased contribution to school.
Yeah.
Then I've got, refurbished basketball court.
Wait, back up. Yeah, the last one I had was mulch. I'm still in shock from that. What was the next one?
Increased contribution to school,
FOS,
HOS,
FOS.
oh, FOS.
and then
And how
refurbished
much did you
basketball
have for
court.
that? Do you have a?
Oh, you folks made requests from 25 to 50.
And what was the next one?
Refurbished basketball court.
Where?
I assumed, well, the only
Northeast.
basketball court we've got, so I assumed that this meant resurfacing.
I think so, yeah, I think I think we're, well, then he needs some goals and hopefully we're gonna have a fun, maybe that'll come
Was
out.
that a request at our last meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody, that's what I think they want to do that, yeah.
And then an increase to the stipend of the fire department.
And then there were several requests for sidewalks, which we, that one we. Need grant stuff and things to do that.
Yeah, that would be a grant stuff, and then
And then tonight there was Jeff's for the marketing, there was. For the winter market
Jeff
question,
Banfield was asking for money. He's gonna bring us a budget, right?
Well, it all depends on, if you don't put a number in there, is it too late?
We have a contingency. fund.
Okay, that would work.
well,
Reserves. Is this,
just
I have-
keep chewing at them.
Mr. Mayor, I have a request. Can I, at this point?
Well, sure,
Okay.
yeah, we're gonna go through in a minute. yeah.
All right, I'm sure you all got your village to village survey, which we called Neighbor to Neighbor. And this was the brainchild of Mrs. Phyllis Ward sitting here. Our original crew was Phyllis Peaches is here, Patsy's here, me, Barbara Johnson, and Beth Temple. Now we have Peaches Dodge as our president, Phyllis is our vice president, I'm the secretary, and James Forwalk is our treasurer, and Patsy's our board member. Through the generous donation of Barbara Johnson, Neighbors to Neighbors surveyed 550 homes with over 10% return, which is quite phenomenal. It's usually a 1 to 2% direct mail return. So 37% of the population in our town is over the age of 60. That's 531 residents based upon our population. 90% of the returned essays that we got asked for social events, get-togethers, community services in the future. Because we had, do I need it now or do I need it in the future? And ask for those in the future. 10 of those surveys asked for it now. So Neighbors to Neighbors has collected the data. It was really interesting, the comments that were made, and it's a great way to gather data. And the residents have spoken and they have asked for a gathering space. And you've been upstairs. There's this phenomenal room with a view of the entire town with all the church steeples. It's really like, it's just like a Norman Rockwell painting. And I would like to request to reappropriate $20,000 from the walking trail at the ballpark to split units for the Anancock Community Center upstairs, which will be used by the entire community. Because we think it's really good that old people are around young people and young people are around old people. And so it's really not a budget request. We did not vote to reappropriate that $20,000 for the walking trail. So, but we have reappropriated ARPA funds. I see you have a question, sir.
Yeah, how many of the people who would use that would have difficulty with the stairs to get to it?
Well, that's our next request. Yeah. See how we go through this list and what we're funding, what we're not funding. I think Mr. Specht has checked into the price of an elevator.
Not
Ballpark.
specifically, but
May I just ask a question? And it's about this too, because I think it's a grand idea and a big necessity in town for people to have a place to socialize. The mechanics of it need to be worked out, the how and when and who.
I like the way you think ahead.
Well, the only way to get it done is to know how it's gonna get done. And to figure out all the hows and whens, but the elevator being a primary need. There are companies that do one-person elevators right straight up through the ceiling, and they're not that crazy money. So it's funds that, you're talking $20,000 from something. I think an elevator, you can do it. Yeah, I
Well,
know you want AC first.
yeah,
Okay,
and then
but
I think we have to have the elevator because we'll be in violation of the ADA.
well, you got, so don't be in violation. Get the elevator first, and then you get the air will follow.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't know what you
The
said.
room is already in existence. You're not violating the ADA if you don't renovate, if you're not renovating the room.
But there's no point in doing it.
No, I agree with you, but I'm saying I don't think you're violating the ADA regulations by with an existing room that's already there.
Yeah.
Unless you have to spend X amount of dollars, but yeah.
If
But I'm not saying I don't think you need an elevator. You do.
Phyllis is our ADA
Yeah.
expert.
You don't, but if you're gonna have an elevator, it has to be an ADA.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, my next thing is you
And I'm
can't.
not sure one person is,
Well,
but at any rate,
they put them in homes for people with disabilities.
okay,
That'd have to be a commercial grade in a.
It has to be.
public building, okay?
I don't know that, and I would ask.
I mean, the thing is,
Matt or somebody, if we could get a quote for a
Well,
real.
they spent about 60 grand at the school, didn't
Yeah,
It'll be all of that.
they? Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I mean, if we've already got a community space in town at school, called the Nantucket Community Center.
Well, is it open to anybody at any time? Or is it, you know, does it have even the feeling that it's open to anyone at any time? I don't think so. I'm just questioning, I'm just saying.
Well, I don't think they've ever been approached to do that, something like that.
But they have an elevator.
Well, this was the board decision to, I mean, when we saw that room upstairs, we all just went, this is it.
It is a cool room. I
Yes,
worked
it
up
is.
there a lot. It's a great room.
It is a terrific room, but it has a lot of uses, so anything would have to be scheduled. I mean, I don't see anything being available 24/7 on a whim. I mean, you've got
You're
to schedule
exactly
these
right,
things.
because that's exactly what I said, the how and why. That's a.
Not anytime.
Well, I mean, can we get the air conditioning in this year and do the, you know, elevator? You know?
I saw where the federal government's giving a $2,000 credit on, split units, so yeah, let's do it.
Well, I mean, we originally had that budget, yeah, for the air.
Yeah, we did.
And it's a multi-purpose area, so that it would be, it could pay for itself.
So we got a lot of money here, requests here, we need to start whittling down a little bit, so we got the.
Well, this isn't really a budget, request, it's just a transfer of funds.
You pay out the- Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
no,
correct.
but that's not the elevator cost, yeah, that's just,
No, we're,
yeah. Once, my question is, you're just requesting the first thing right now.
HVAC.
HVAC.
split units.
I'd like to know who was in favor. I wasn't part of the ARPA plan, but presumably there was a reason that the walking path was put in there.
I did. That's
Why?
why a question
Why
requesting
did you
it.
put it in there?
I thought that it would be a great thing for the community to have.
Was there a particular group that asked you to do that or?
No, it was strictly me.
Okay.
And that's why I'm asking for it to be reappropriated, because I don't want to be accused of any conflict of interest.
Is it
that
still in
would
there?
be my walking trail with me and my dog.
Now she has a group.
Pardon me, and Peaches. Peaches. Yes.
We're here.
Well, all right, well, okay, so we got that request, so you're requesting to transfer that, well, then
Reappropriate.
it still needs to be discussed, okay. Well, let's get back to the, lot of things on the, I don't know, we're gonna start here.
Question from the last meeting, the request from the winter market, was there any funding attached
No.
to
No,
that?
not yet.
There wasn't any funding. It was just asking if they could have consideration for a piece of property outside the back door of the Welcome Center. There's no cost or.
Thanks.
All right, we need your pleasure on some of this, so we want to start,
Wait a minute.
what is that?
When you came up with your list, as best I remember, you said these were the items that you felt we had the funds for. What was the bottom line total of how much we had in funds?
I think it was 234,000. But I've got to look back at my email because there were also two things on there that we didn't talk about tonight. One is the utility locator for water, and then the replacement of the panel inside the tower.
Inside the what?
Were the awnings in there too?
The landscaping.
Oh, and then your landscaping.
Landscaping.
My landscape?
Yeah, well, you know,
Okay.
Broader Heights. Yeah, Broader Heights contract. Do you want me to make one list and distribute it one more time and we can talk about it next time? Cause I'd hate to have us miss something or.
Well, is there something, is there anything that we absolutely want to kill here that we just don't have any interest in doing? I mean, I would save you some time.
I would like to kill.
I mean, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to, I mean, I don't want you to waste time on something if there's no interest in the council.
Yeah, the one question I've got is is it proper to give us $10,000 to the theater when it's not our asset?
Oh, but it is. Oh, but it is. The theater is one of the best assets a town could have. And we keep saying what a great town we have and all that we have in it. And if we don't include the theater as part of those things, you're making a big mistake.
All right, so if Car Place needs a new roof,
The car place gets okay.
what about the school?
They get okay too. We keep giving to these things, but we've not given any lump sum to the theater. And the theater is a very important asset to the town. I must admit, I am a member or a theater goer. I know, not a member of the board. or
star.
anything else. A star, and I'm a star. And so I just see how this would be, this asset needs to be
Well,
protected.
my question is that we don't, I'm asking if we want, if there's a consensus to take anything out.
Right, we're going to keep this in.
Well, we need to hear, you know, I mean, we got one person, I don't want to waste time keeping something in and we can count time and doing it.
Okay.
I think we agreed by, not so much a vote as there was a majority agreement that we would not contribute to an organization unless they came and asked for it and told us how they were going to spend it. The Playhouse did that. They came, they asked, they told us how they're going to spend it. But I've never seen their budget. I don't know, do they make a lot of money? Do they make no money? Do they make little? I don't know. I've never seen their
There's so
budget.
much volunteerism in that, you would be surprised.
I understand what you mean by making money, they're not for
They're not-
profit.
They,
Yeah, they do. I mean, they charge for the plays.
they have a mortgage.
Yeah, but it's a nonprofit organization.
Right, yeah.
It's a nonprofit, but you can still build surpluses.
Yeah,
and,
Yeah.
I don't think.
Exactly.
Anybody from Playhouse here? No, all right. All right, well, my question is, do we want to let Matt work on that number and not take it out? Okay, all right, so. That's okay, the mulch for the, I mean, we need,
Isn't that done?
we do need the mulch.
Yeah, that's got it.
So, I mean, EDA, I probably already covered that. We don't click on that. CVs, I think you're gonna pull that out this year's budget, aren't you?
Fletcher, I mean, back to the mulch.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have new mulch. I mean, you could potentially wait a year.
Oh, no, how can you ask kids to play on splintery mulch? No, you can't wait a year. No,
I'm serious.
no,
I'm not aware, I haven't actually been out there to look at the mulch, I'm sorry, but there's been.
I know the school has the rubberized, but Eastern Shore Forest Products, which is first exit off the bypass in Salisbury, where we go, they have playground grade mulch. So you might want to just check the price and see if it's a.
Do you remember the name of the place?
Eastern Shore Forest Products.
Yeah, but people in supply.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, we can.
if that's what. You're doing
It
the
is
same thing,
playground.
you're doing the same thing over and over again.
I'm not saying repeat it.
Say it again.
I'm not saying repeat it.
Well, they have wood chips up there now.
Big one. Chip.
Yeah.
Isn't that disgusting?
No, I'm talking about the northeast
Yeah.
part.
I am too. I go there with my boys and play there.
Okay.
Well, they've never complained about it, first of all.
Your voice.
They're used to mulch.
I'm just saying, you know, it's not like a certain lifespan, 2 to 3 years. It's brand new. If you know, this is not like an essential, we gotta do it right away.
Except that somebody came forward and said her grandchildren got splinters and in that, playing in that mulch, playing in that playground.
What point?
Well, we need to look into it some more, I guess, yeah. Thank you. All right,
I think we agree that we want the mulch, but we want to look at the price.
so I guess we're all the things we're talking about, and then pickleball, that's, yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't support the pickleball expense. I think there are many things we need more urgently than pickleball court.
You said that.
Call me mean.
But let me just say, there are other ways than town budget to finance something like this. The EDA it would be a project for the EDA because it is to promote economic development and commerce. And that's all the people who have come forward kept saying how wonderful it would be for tourism and how wonderful for the town. So it makes sense to have one, but how do you finance it? and let the ADA do that. EDA, what's the ADA?
American Disabilities.
But you're not in favor.
I'm not in favor of
They're not.
promoting anything at this point to that.
You're neutral. Neutral. Joanne, is it?
Oh, I forgot. I'm with Ray, I'm sort of neutral, but,
Oh, definitely.
I see that $80,000 going up an elevator.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
I would
You
think
do.
so, but I think that could be probably raised, a good,
Okay, so there's,
maybe an ACOG could provide support after that.
And my support depends on location. I'm opposed to putting the pickleball courts in a residential section of the town.
so there's consensus that we're not gonna pursue the pickleball court, but
That is-
we're at this $80,000 request. Is that correct?
We're just
I would like to see
considering the
pickleball.
$80,000.
Yeah, I know,
We're just
I really would.
considering the $80,000 coming out of our budget right now.
Okay, everybody agreed on it? I don't know. I can come back and say.
Could we build one?
Going into an elevator.
No, okay, then we'll take the money for the elevator.
Well, we don't have the money for the pickleball either. right?
Yes, we do, Matt,
No,
put it in the
it's-
budget transfer.
Yeah.
It's already in,
Well, I don't, that's up to you all. I'm not,
right, Matt?
everybody's got their own little. budget,
I'm neutral.
you know. I'm kind of. I'm gonna be neutral on it, too.
I'm not.
Okay,
Uh,
that was it.
And then the school, we had several requests for the school. I don't know, but many of you know that the heating system at the school is failing. And they're unsure about whether they're gonna be able to get it, working. So, and we had talked several times in the past about, I talked to Matt about possibly, getting I think, I don't think members have come back in about possibly getting a USDA loan. The school could get a loan and then we can help them pay that loan. But I mean, if it's a year loan or something like that, instead of giving them a set amount of money,
Can we give them money or to pay as we go on the repair or the replacement?
it's not,
Is
the
it,
system runs the whole school and it's failing and.
How do they know it's failing? It's summer.
Or, well, they have a maintenance contract and it's a, 170-year-old heater and it's been held together with a baling wall and it's leaking big time.
Yeah, but I had no idea they needed
It has-
HVAC until we were sitting
Yeah.
at the school with the guy from the Chamber of Commerce and Cindy Downing turned to me and said, yeah, we need windows, roof and air conditioning
Yeah.
and heater. I was like,
Yeah.
so, but my point is, Sarah, before I'm not done, is they've not requested, they've not come in, they've not asked, they've not showed us what they're going to spend it on. And I think it's our due diligence and fiscal responsibility that I would definitely, before I vote for us taking out a loan,
Well,
and I can see they can take out a loan, but
they-
please let me finish. That we see exactly the budget. I don't think that's an unreasonable request, that we see the budget to put split units in the school.
Okay, two responses. One, there have been mentions over the last several years that the furnace was on borrowed time. And at the end of this winter is when kind of the last straw went. So that's the reason for the current urgency. The other thing is that because the board of the school does not own the school cannot take out a loan for capital improvements to what they don't own. So if there is gonna be a loan, it's my understanding that it would have to be done through the town.
Well, they have no asset to put up to guarantee the loan, right? So, I'm just asking that if we look, I'm like you, we need a plan. They're in the process of getting, they're in the process of getting, estimates from three or four different, they've already got some in hand to basically put mini splits in most of the rooms.
Do they have
Yeah.
any money at all to put towards this project?
Probably not, no.
Sarah, you're on the board,
So is Fletcher.
Yeah, Very,
and he's saying no, and you.
very little to that.
This would be a very big cost.
Yeah, it's
What are we talking about?
350,000, I don't know, a lot. So, my thing is, this is not new, I brought this up, a year ago about, they can we can take advantage of the USD low interest loan the town would have to take the loan out. We'd have to see about who would, the school doesn't have enough money to pay the whole amount. We could chip in, help them. They're just suggestions, but we need a plan, and I just want to know if we're interested in looking at that. It's, we own the building. If something happened and they fail, tomorrow morning, we get a building back with a furnace that would, a cooling and heating system that'd be working.
That would be the worst case scenario.
Right.
That all is good, that we just get it back.
Well, yeah, but if you get it back and if nothing works, you have to spend to improve it, so you're spending. to improve
You
it.
don't have to improve it then. I mean, I'm just saying, you don't have to do anything.
Okay, you just
At all.
bulldoze the building down and put it down in.
Well, what was it before?
I just don't think it's feasible to let the school close. The
Well,
community supports it.
It's a.
I don't think we're talking about a lot of money. We ran the numbers here. We're looking at, and we're talking about a 20-year note. We're looking at $16,000 or $17,000.
$50,000.
But it's not, we own the building. I mean, if this roof was failing, I'm sure you wouldn't take 5 minutes about replacing it.
And I would ask
Yeah,
as the landlord,
yeah.
I would see the numbers. And see
Well,
what they
yeah,
cost.
I suggest that we look at that and they may be able to come up with something.
Currently, we owe debt on our water.
Right.
We owe debt on the bank building. And now we're talking about taking on debt. Mr. Matt, where are you out of that?
Running the numbers, honestly.
We owe debt on the bank building, is that what you said?
Not anymore, no. We paid that off last year.
$157,000,
That's the tower.
the water tower.
Yeah.
So I just am throwing it out there. It's, every council member's got to decide what they want to do themselves about it, but we're not looking at handing them a check for $350,000. We're looking at a low interest loan that,
That's low interest.
4%, something like that. I don't know what they can
Is there
get.
such a thing
3%.
out there now?
2%, I don't know. I don't
The
know.
USDA loans aren't even 4%, are they, Matt? 3.5.
So that's, we can run some numbers, we can talk to people. We can't do anything till we get estimates to see what they want to do. But they need to come in and make Sarah is basically on the board making the request, but we need to get looked at
The
it.
mayor's making the request.
Well, no,
Oh, yeah, the
when they
mayor
talk
is
about,
making the
yeah,
request.
yeah. Well, we have 2 people on the board that requested money to put on, to give them extra money, So,
I support coming up with an estimate and looking at, trying to help. I just don't see that closing it is an option.
Well, you don't see it as closing, but I don't say close it, and I commend what they've done, but it was a vanity project from the beginning because it was a rundown old building that somebody's heart was bleeding for, and they've done a fabulous job with it. But if that's your project, that's your project.
I disagree with you, I can't
I
disagree
know
with
you
you.
disagree with me.
I think it's a great asset to the town.
I don't see how you can call the playhouse an asset and not call the school an asset.
Yeah,
I really don't see it.
I see you on her too.
I'm sure there's many people in
I
town.
hard to believe.
Many people in town who agree. On both sides.
Anyway, I'm just throwing that out, so I think, we can look at that. I've talked to you before about that.
Yep. I got it.
All right, any other questions about it? So you're gonna run us the number, when are we gonna talk, at the May meeting?
Yeah, well, we've got it. That's when the public hearing is.
So can we have a public hearing?
For next year's budget, this is this year's budget. You're confusing me. What are
Well,
we talking about?
it's this year's,
Mix
but,
the budget.
well, I'm not, that loan is not this year's budget.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
No, right, but we were talking about doing all this other stuff with this year's budget?
Yeah.
You're gonna give us some numbers on that?
Yeah.
Okay, oh, all right.
Well, you already did.
And found a way.
On April 26th, you funded landscaping, water tower panel, utility locator, roof repairs. Where that is, rubber mulch, pickleball courts.
The reserve
Yeah.
sewer.
But how are we gonna do that for next year and the year after that for?
That was my question about landscaping is if it's 39,000 this year, it's 39,000 every year.
Yeah, that's a recurring cost, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, would you rather hire somebody?
No,
Have
I'm
you-
not saying anything, no, I'm
Have
not.
you looked at the area behind, in the parking lot back there? Is that amount of weeds?
I hate that. I hate that.
I mean, we should have just paved over it, I guess.
And keep in mind, you're gonna have to do another section in the Queen Street.
A lot more.
So that number is gonna go
No,
up.
I'm not having a problem with that. I think that we
Well, maybe
can free
we're
our
not.
staff to do other things, you know.
Yeah, but that's a seasonal job.
Actually, it isn't.
Hmm?
Landscaping is not seasonal, it's all year.
I'm out of order then. Can we get
I
some
just
bids
don't
on
care.
this instead of just saying that we're hiring this particular landscaper? Yeah.
We did.
Right, so we,
Didn't we get,
Well, two of one didn't.
yeah,
One didn't wanna do it.
One didn't wanna work for us and the other,
Well, Mr. Mayor,
yeah, I'll figure it out, sorry.
so, I'm a little, where we're going, you're gonna report back to us in May with all the numbers.
I'll probably report
Yeah,
to you ahead of time so you can
Right.
prepare for a conversation in May.
And some of the numbers are gonna come from this year's budget.
Yeah.
And then some are gonna be,
Yeah.
come out of the next year's budget.
And I've already applied for a grant from VDH to do those two water items.
Right.
I'd love to see that happen, but
But we've given you a lot of stuff to wade through here.
yeah, I know.
Just remember this meeting in May you're talking about is 1 week from today.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Okay.
know, you gotta call.
That's why I raised my hand, because it's not a lot of time.
these are included in this year's budget.
Those are using this year's reserves.
Reserves.
Yeah, they're not, yeah.
This is the budget transfer that he sent on April 26th. Because we have reserves left.
Yes,
Yes,
we still have the amount of reserves we're required to plus some,
yes.
correct?
And
I
then
think at
some,
the
yeah.
last meeting, it was what? 800,000, yeah.
No, we have some, I'm just concerned, we have some things that are one-time costs and some things that are recurring.
Recurring,
We need to make sure that we have budget. We don't want to hire somebody just 1 year landscape. I mean,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when you use reserves, you use it for capital
Yes.
one time.
Yes.
You know, and if you want to do year after year, then let's put it in the budget
Budget.
because it's important.
All right, okay, all right, any other questions? And then we're gonna, you're gonna send something out, email, but you gotta.
I'm gonna send so much out.
Just get ready.
Hey, a motion to adjourn?
Do we have council comments? Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Okay, are we in agreement that I know people are gonna go here tonight wondering, and I'm gonna be one of them. Are we in agreement that the 20,000 will come out of the walking trail ARPA funds?
Well, I think that's the plan, but we have to vote on it at some point, yeah.
Yeah, you have to vote on
We never
appropriate.
voted to reappropriate before.
I believe you did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So is that gonna be on the agenda for May then?
I happily put it there. I mean, I would imagine it's about a 10-second conversation.
Can we do it tonight?
Yeah, vote tonight, this is not.
Oh,
It's
that's,
not a workshop. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, I think we can, that's.
Yeah, that's
a lot
no
of
problem.
decisions to make. Huh?
But with
That's
the
no problem.
workshop,
Yeah, so I think you're gonna send some stuff around, you gotta price some mulch and stuff like that and things like that, yeah.
No.
All right,
So-
Meeting tomorrow. I think we-
My last question. The budget that you've presented to us is based upon a 3% increase in real estate, a 3% increase in water and sewage and garbage, and a 3% increase in personal property, and gives the employees a 3% raise.
That's a fairly good summary, yes.
I would like to see the correct salary schedule.
That's fine. I think it got checked before the meeting. It was just a typo on mine, but I'll send that to you, no problem.
If I could see it for the past 3 or 4 years, that'd be great.
I will try.
Thank you.
I would like to speak if I may.
there's no public comment tonight. It's a work session now. Unless you have a new money. Unless you have a money request, is somebody about the budget?
It's about the lawyer's fees and the comment that Matt made in public about citizens in his own community. And I find that completely inappropriate and uncalled for. These very citizens pay taxes here. We pay personal property taxes. And for the town manager, whose salary we pay, to make such a fly publicly delivered comment, he owes his citizens an apology.
Thank you for your comment. All right, any motion to adjourn?
Yeah, yeah, motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Ding, ding.
Okay.